Introducing Nose to Tail, a podcast where we explore the world of aviation lifecycle solutions, insights, and more. Presented by Jet Midwest.
Welcome to the Nose to Tail podcast. I'm Patrick Kraus with Jet Midwest. I'm here with Danny O'Neill. He is the Bean Baron from the Roasterie, good friend of mine, aviation enthusiast, entrepreneur. I don't know, I could say a lot more things, Danny.
That's enough.
Yeah, we'll start there. We're actually here in your man cave in downtown Kansas City, and certainly glad you let us come shoot our episode here because there's a lot of really great stories in this room. I think maybe the first story I think I'll tell is the first introduction that you and I had when I met. A great friend of both of ours, Eric Hanvelt, always telling me stories about you and all the things you had going on. He says, you got to meet this guy. We'll go down, we'll have some coffee. And we came down to the factory to meet you, and you're moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, fully caffeinated. And I was like, man, this guy's flying. And it was a great introduction, and you gave us opportunity to create our own sampling so we could have our own coffee at our office, which we probably drank about 50,000 pounds of that coffee over the last 15 years since we met. Mm-hmm. And I appreciated the introduction to coffee from you because people in the marketplace maybe are judgmental about how people drink their coffee or what they do or those things. And I loved your approach, which was, finding your own way within you're exploring how you enjoyed coffee. And that was really neat for me to see it be that way. So I appreciate that. It was a great introduction.
Oh, I remember it vividly. But it's funny, isn't it? Just I hadn't thought about that for a long time, but I think about Jasper and different people with wine. The best wine is the one that you love, And Jasper would say, you eat your food the way that you want. And we always thought the same thing with coffee. But now, if you ask us, we're going to tell you, but we're sure not going to give you a sermon on how you should drink your coffee, But it's so much more fun. I remember that vividly because you guys liked it so much and you were spongy and wanted to know more. So it's so much more fun when somebody appreciates quality and what, maybe a little bit of the story behind that.
Right.
And so, I never, ever, ever forgot that. That was very fun.
So maybe give our viewers an opportunity to understand maybe how your overall career started, and then how you ended up becoming the Bean Baron.
Yeah, I haven't told this story for a long time. We sold about 4 years ago, so I'll probably be a little bit clunky, but I grew up in a small town in Iowa. I was middle of 10 kids. And it's like a Norman Rockwell painting when I think about it, we just small town. We just were running crazy from early in the morning till late at night. Anyway, and when I was a senior, we played football, had motorcycles. I worked at an Oldsmobile Cadillac dealer. Going into my senior year, we had an AFS student from Tasmania, from Australia. And we were going all over around the little town, Key Club and Kiwanis Club and Roasterie Club and all this stuff. And she was getting all this attention. And it sounds funny, but as a middle of 10 kids, we would just about have to start douse ourselves with gasoline to get any attention. And I was like, I want that. I want that. So I didn't tell anybody. I applied to be a foreign exchange student and finally had to take my mom to one of the meetings several months later. So the woman was like, so what do you think about your son maybe going away for a year? And my mom, real old school, had her purse sitting on her lap. She goes, this is the first I've heard about it. So they said, well, if you don't hear anything, but I was a senior, I'm having the time of my life, right? Football, Friday nights, motorcycles, it's awesome. Kind of forgot about it. Well, right after Christmas, I got a short letter and said, and with a picture of my host sisters, you're going to Costa Rica in 3 weeks. And we didn't have a suitcase in our family, didn't have a passport. I had never been on a jet. I don't think I'd ever been out of the state without one of my brothers, And my poor mom just got everything together and set me off. And that was February of my senior year. So 3 weeks later, I started school, made a ton of friends. And later in the fall, my friends were going coffee picking. So I went coffee picking with them. Loved it. Growing up in Iowa, you detassel corn, chop thistles, fix fence, bale hay, all that stuff. Walk beans. They were doing that. We had a ton of fun. And I drank tea at the time, not that it mattered. And they made fun of me because I was so horrible picking coffee. The value of my lunch was more than they paid me picking coffee. And everybody mocked me. And it was just a lot of fun. So I came back and we were on the quarter system. I went to undergrad at Iowa State. And my first finals, pulled all-nighters like I used to undergrad. I don't know how I could ever do that again, and I drank a pot of coffee and I absolutely loved it. I couldn't sit still, couldn't study, couldn't sleep, but I just like that. And I'm embarrassed to say what year that was, but I have drank a massive amount of coffee every day ever since. And I have been sick about 2 times in my entire life too. So I just got really into coffee. I kept doing school and just was into coffee. I think we probably started drinking whole bean coffee in like 1982 or something like that, 81 maybe. And they didn't go, oh, cool. That coffee thing's cool. It was like, what? Oh, you're weird. Of course, I didn't drink it to be cool, but nobody thought it was, everybody thought it was kind of weird. So the short story is I just love James Bond, love all the kind of stuff that we've always talked about. The CIA was coming to campus and I thought, oh my God, I'd love to be a spy. So I start this on this. Of course, I'm 6'8", so yeah, I never thought, being a naive Iowa kid, how many 6'8" spies are there? It never crossed my mind. So I did this whole routine in probably 14 months, getting interviewed at Iowa State, went to Langley. They came around and interviewed all people in my little hometown. So it was so funny because they'd call me up and they say, you never believe who was here. I heard from coaches and teachers and stuff. But anyway, thankfully, because I would have been an analyst, I would have been in a cubicle in a basement. It would have been like that movie Office Space, the worksheet,
Yeah.
the whatever.
TPS reports.
TBS. That's right. And so thankfully, again, I was devastated when they didn't hire me, but thankfully I did. And I got into sales, and one thing led to another, and lived in Omaha for about 7 years. That's when I started doing pilots lessons back in the 80s, and then transferred to Kansas City in 1991. I was with the big international company Warehouser under a container board division. And then when I was here, I did the Rockhurst Executive Fellows MBA program. And then in 93, a lot of changes with them, a lot of changes with me. I just graduated and I was dreaming about coffee, just thinking about coffee nonstop. And again, everybody thought it was weird. Nobody goes, that's so cool. You should do that. Nobody said
They
that,
didn't
right?
call it cutting edge.
No, it was not cutting edge. It was not cool. People would mock me how much into coffee I was. And so then I kind of thought, God, they're right. This is kind of weird. So I started signing up for United Nations Volunteer Program and Peace Corps, but I kept dreaming about coffee. So I thought, well, if I did the coffee thing, and if it doesn't work out, I'm super cowardly about failure. I'll just leave the country and be a Peace Corps worker, and nobody will have to know. I didn't want to hear it. I knew it wouldn't work. I knew it wouldn't work. So long story, but I found this person who built these roasters in Corvallis, Oregon. So went out to see him in Corvallis, Oregon, ordered a roaster, had it delivered to my little house in Brookside. Of course, typical entrepreneur, I didn't take the time to measure the door frame or anything else, so it wouldn't fit in the basement. And had to find somebody to saw it in half and get it down there. And that was in fall of 93.
So what you're describing is you installing that in the basement of your home in the suburbs.
Well, in Brookside, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
100-year-old house and limestone walls and 6.5-foot ceilings. So I had to bend over when I was roasting. So I used to tell people we were incorporated November 4th of 1993 and made our first sale in December. And that's true. But what is more accurate is that the roaster was delivered in August. It was hooked up in September. And every day from September to mid-December, all day, I hit the streets trying to sell coffee. And I went about 100 days without selling 1 ounce of coffee. And a pound of coffee was $3.75. And I'm thinking, of course, I feel like a total loser, of course. And, I have no income and I'm down to about $300 by December. And I think I would pay somebody to buy my coffee right now so I could at least say I have a customer. So finally I got a customer and it was, the espresso cart at KU Med, and they had one at St. Luke's, and then pretty soon McGonagall's and Miners Sunfresh, and then Lon Lane from, had the premier catering company in Kansas City. And one by one, so at the end of that first month, I ended up with like maybe 9 customers. But then it got to, it just, I would wake up in the morning, I would go deliver any coffee I sold, sell until 5 or 6 at night or, whatever, and then go home and start roasting. And then do it all again. I get back up at 7, go deliver the coffee. And the record was 4 in the morning. And then I got back up at 7. And then every Saturday I would be in the grocery stores and doing demos. It was a bunch of old ladies and me, always. And then on Sundays, Kansas City is so philanthropic. There would always be 3 out of 4 Sundays, we'd have some kind of a symphony event or some kind of some charity or something where we're going to go do a run, a walk, and we do 5,000 cups, 2,000 cups, 10,000 cups of coffee. It was just a tremendous a lot of work, but that's what it took to get going. They say, you bootstrap it. And then it rolls off the tongue a lot easier than when you actually do it.
In the
right?
first 100 days.
Oh my God. But I was so scared of failure. I just, you maybe heard of Gail Worth from Gail's Harley Davidson. She would talk about entrepreneurs. You just don't quit. And it's not like you go through this, and it, you guys have been, everything I said on steroids with you guys, you don't go through a cost benefit analysis on whether you quit or not. Quitting is never an option. Just like your football games.
Right.
You never, ever, ever, no matter how much time there's a chance to win, and you play through the whistle every flipping play in every sequence. So Gail would say, entrepreneurs are just too stupid to know when to quit. But
that might be true. We are kind of stubborn that way.
Oh my God.
Kind
But
of stubborn.
think about though, I think about this once in a while, like if somebody were wanting my advice, I would look at him and say, God, the only logical, rational thing to do would be to fold. Not most of the time, but often that is the case. If it's an option, right? Quitting is never an option for us. We're wired the way we're talking about. And I'm not taking like credit for it. It's just the way I'm wired. It's just not an option. But, oh my God, it's just amazing that we ever made it. Just amazing. And it's not for everybody. God knows. Thankfully, everybody's not an entrepreneur because you couldn't put up with them, but it takes a different person.
We would be very challenged to be employees of someone else.
That's right.
I don't think that could ever possibly work in any world that I can fathom anyway.
Yeah. And who would want to be our boss, so right?
Yeah.
Like I went to a Catholic school and the nuns, bless their hearts, but for example, I'm making this up, but I just love that Danny. He never colors inside the line. He never stands straight. He never follows the rules. Just love how he challenges everything. Who said that ever? Nobody, right? But
we probably should.
But
that's what it
takes.
A whole different path, right?
Yeah.
We'll continue this discussion on the next episode of Nose to Tail, a podcast presented by Jet Midwest. Don't forget to please like and subscribe to our channel.